Or that was the foxhole one.
That was the foxhole one. But
All right. There we go. All right. The first thing I have to say today is, may the 4th be with you. Did anybody get it? Did you get it, Glenn? Glenn, did you get that?
Yeah, can't you see my shirt?
Let me see. May the 4th be.
The dark side. We have good.
May the 4th be with you. All right, man, very good. Okay, hey guys, everybody, hello and welcome. This is Amateur Radio Roundtable. This show is about ham radio, sometimes called amateur radio. And we are live tonight, Tuesday night, coming to you from Collierville, Tennessee. That's in western Tennessee. If you're listening out there on international shortwave, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know where in the world you are. Send us an email to tom@w5kub.com. That's tom@w5kub.com. And if you do have internet there, you can join our show live on Tuesday nights. We are on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/w5kub. And you can join the show. We have a chat room there where you can join us. Now, our shortwave, our audio of this show is delayed. It's on shortwave on Thursday afternoons. That's the best spot we could get. And it's really worked out better for us to put the recording out there on Thursdays instead of trying to do it live. And so if you're listening on shortwave, you're hearing this show on Thursdays, but we're actually live on Tuesday nights. I need everybody to do me a favor real quick. Since we've gone to the YouTube type format, I need everybody out there to hit the subscribe button there on your video. Please hit the subscribe button. That will help our show out tremendously. It helps us to get our ratings higher in the show, and it also allows YouTube to advertise the show throughout the YouTube channels to other people. You know, as they're surfing the different videos, our video will pop up there and they can click on it. So please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. That also helps us on our ratings. And if you like to, hit that little bell. That little bell is a notification that will tell you anytime we go live. And sometimes we go live in between shows. There's special things that come up and we go live there. So anyway, that's just what I wanted to tell you about our YouTube, and please subscribe to us there. Also, join our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group of over 12,000 hams, and it kind of follows the show, but it's just a good a Facebook group for ham radio. Post your shack pictures. Katie will show those shack pictures on our show live some night. Talk ham radio and everything, and it also will follow the show. So just join our Facebook group, 12,000 hams strong, and you can just go to W5KUB in Facebook. Just do a search for W5KUB and that'll take you there. Or you can type in Amateur Radio Roundtable. Our name is so long, I don't expect anybody to type that in. So join our Facebook group, hit the subscribe button there. Let's see what's going on tonight. Katie is at a city council meeting. She may be with us if she gets out in time. Alan is working on an assignment. We've got Glenn with us tonight, and I suspect that Bill Brown may come in with us a little later. Now, tonight was going to be recorded. I had scheduled tonight to be not live. We were going to be out of town, but several things have changed that, so I took the opportunity to come back live again. And I think it's real important to keep the show live. We've been on about 7.5 years now with Amateur Radio Roundtable, and I think we've only missed about 3 or 4 weeks in 7.5 years. And that's I think that's a pretty good record. And I think the more consistent we can keep live shows going, the better. All right, so tonight, man, I got a couple just neat things. We're going to talk about, I don't know, we're going to talk about, I'm going to get my satellite system set up here. I've got a friend coming over tomorrow. We're going to play with that and get it working. So we're going to be doing some segments on some satellite stations and contacts here real soon. I got a little video tonight. I've got an experimental battery for my my professional balloon guys over on the West Coast. Had some special LiPo batteries made to operate at cold temperatures. And they do operate at cold temperatures. We might be successful running a battery on our next flight. So we're going to see, and I'm going to talk a little about that. We're going to show you a little video here where we took the temperature all the way down to a minus 60 degrees Celsius and did the charge test and the output of the battery test and so forth. So we're going to talk a little about the LiPo batteries. We're going to talk a little tonight about tree as the antenna. Several people have asked me about that. I'm still wanting to do that, tree as an antenna, and I need some help. So Walter, if you're watching, come on down one day. Walter lives in a neighborhood. Come on down one day and you can help me, Walter, to put that segment together, because it's going to take a couple people to do the connections and the testing and the videoing. All right, so let's see. Let's see what else was going on here. Glenn, how you doing there, man?
Oh, hanging in there. You know, still busting it on the new job, so I haven't had time to come up with anything. Although I was saying in the pre-show, we had a little swap fest here in Memphis, little junk in the trunk thing, and I was able to get some new toys and some parts. So it's kind of returning to the Hamfest season. So I'm looking to maybe start building some new projects once things settle out a little bit.
Yeah, well, you know, that's a good place to get parts and stuff. And all these years when I'd go to Hamfest, I always liked going to the flea market area, not the new stuff, but the flea market area, because man, I love building things, and you can find a box of junk, and it may have the nicest part there for a new project, man. You know
exactly.
And there you can get stuff there for 25 cents, $1 that might cost you $50 somewhere else if you had to order it. So it's a lot of fun going around at the Hempfest and digging in these junk boxes.
Well, this is one of the cool things that I managed to get. It's one of those little itty bitty multi-tools.
Yeah.
And it's got an LED light. The batteries are bad, so I've got new batteries coming, but it's actually got a little LED light to light your work
Is that right?
area.
I've got 4 or 5 of those over here. Haven't even opened yet. I think they're MFJ ones. They're just like that, but they don't have the light in them. So that's kind of cool that somebody has now added a light to it. Next, I don't know, man. They'll probably have Bluetooth on it next. Man.
Yeah. So, but I also got a whole bag full of the miniature toggle switches for just a handful, a couple bucks. And
yeah. I just ordered, and let me tell you, eBay, you can get some neat parts for nothing on eBay too. I mean, I just ordered a dozen little push button switches. I've used all my little push button switches here. And if you remember when we did the Last Man Standing special event here, I built up a one button. We press that button and it would say, QRZ, this is Last Man Standing. Anybody out there? Well, the radio here has, I think, 10 or 11 memories in it. So I've ordered me a dozen little push button switches. I'm gonna take a little box and make, just fix it where all 11 memories will work there, and put a CQ in one, a QRZ in one, and things like that. Okay. And I'm going to try to watch the chat room. Hey, tonight the show's going to be very informal, guys. Very informal. I hope to open the telephone lines up maybe in about 30 or 40 minutes and just see if we can get some participation from people out there. And just call us and talk with Glenn and me, and let's just talk ham radio. So somebody said, Cliff says he got his KA6LMS QSL card. Okay, well, that's cool. VK7, any Wayne's out there? We got somebody down VK7 watching tonight, so that's great. Hey, and we do have phone numbers in Australia and New Zealand. We got phone numbers in 65 countries. So if you're wanting to call in tonight and you're overseas, do this. Go to my website. Go to my website right there, w5kub.com. And then click on contact. And if you click on contact, over on the left side, there's numbers where you can call the show. And it lists all the international numbers. It lists local numbers in 65 countries. So if you're out there and you want to, check out the contact us at W5KUB. And I'll also put the local number for the U.S. up on the screen in a little while when we do that. What was that, Glenn? You said?
I didn't say nothing.
Okay.
Unless I was thinking out loud and saying things I shouldn't be saying.
I think you were thinking out loud. So hey, I started the show and I said, May the 4th be with you, but I didn't give the date. Today is May the 4th. Yeah, today is May the 4th. So we'll get that on record. I guess that's Cinco de Mayo, right?
No, that's tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Cinco de Mayo will be tomorrow. Now, Glenn, do you know how we got the name Cinco de Mayo?
Yeah, there was a large shipment of mayonnaise off the coast of Panama.
That's right.
And hurricane came in and sank it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Cinco
that's
de
right.
Mayo.
And I had a similar story that back in the 1800s that the mayonnaise came from Spain to Mexico, and they counted on it. They liked it very much, and the ship went down. The ship sunk. And all the Mexican people were going, Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Mayo.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how it got. Now, it may have been, your story may have been the true one or mine. I don't know, but they're similar. It was the mayonnaise shipment that came across in a boat, and it did sink. So that's where we got the term Cinco de Mayo.
But May the 4th has always been kind of a special day for me, because I was actually one of the folks that got to stand in line on the 4th to see the debut of Star Wars, and I actually saw it twice that day.
Yeah.
I saw the afternoon show and the evening show. So that was a lot of fun.
So look, let's talk about a couple things. Let me turn this volume down. I'm a little loud here. Okay, so hey, I want to jump into using an antenna for a tree. Now, we don't have anything set up where we're going to do a test, but I'm going to give you a little history on using an antenna as a tree. And one of my friends, Larry Shantz, WD0AKX, he tried a little experiment, I don't know, last year using a shortwave radio, and he went out to a tree and drove some nails in it. So I've got a little video that Larry did, and we're going to look at that real quick, and we're going to look at his results. They weren't good results, but he did. He heard about it and he tried it. So let me see if I can bring that up.
Yeah, and you're talking about using a tree as an antenna, not an antenna as a tree.
That's right. Not to hold an antenna up, but using a tree as the antenna. So let's watch Larry here. Larry is Larry. He's the ham radio guy, and he's got some different videos out there. So check out his site. But here we go. All right, here, let's see if I can get this running here.
And I've always wanted to try something. I've heard for many years you could use a tree as an antenna in an emergency type situation. But I thought I'd do a little test here today. And very unscientific and simple test, but just to get an idea here if this might work or not. So I'm going to take some 4-inch nails, drive them into a few trees. I'm just going to touch my telescopic whip antenna to my Sony ICF 2010 shortwave receiver here. See if we get any indication on the signal strength meter of an increased signal using the tree as an added antenna to the whip here. This radio does have an external antenna input, I realize. That's for using long wire antennas and anything longer than the whip really, so you don't overload the radio. But I don't think we're going to overload it here, so we're going to just try the whip antenna. So let's go outside and give this a try, just for the fun of it, see what kind of results we have. Kind of as a reference, I have a short piece of wire, actually about 20 feet or so, just laying on the floor in the shack here. You can see when I touch it to the whip antenna, the signal strength does increase. So let's go outside. This tree is in my backyard. It's not in the best of shape and it's lost a lot of its leaves here for the fall season already, but we'll give it a try. I'm just going to drive a nail in towards the base and another nail up a little ways farther on the tree as a tap point. Thought I would try checking the resistance of the tree between my nail points with an ohmmeter just to see what it shows. Showing about 6 or 7 k ohms. The actual piece of wire would show about 0 ohms or close to 0 ohms, a dead short. So let's go ahead and touch the antenna to the lower nail on the tree here, watching the signal strength meter on the radio. I'm listening to station WWV. Since they broadcast on several frequencies throughout the shortwave spectrum, it makes kind of a nice test signal. I'm switching back and forth between 5, 10, and 15 megahertz here during my tests. And right now I'm not really noticing much of a difference at all, maybe just a slight bit of difference in signal strength here. So it's not looking very promising here so far, I guess. Let's move up to the upper nail here on the tree, see if that makes any difference. I know the Signal Corps at one time wrote up some papers on this. That's my understanding. I've never seen them, but I guess they actually used this technique and did some testing using trees as antennas. Well, no changes there. Let's shorten the antenna on the radio here and kind of decrease the sensitivity of the radio and make the whip smaller and see if we get any changes that way. Touch the short whip to the tree connection here and still really no changes. The signal is just weaker altogether and the tree doesn't seem to be helping us much at all. Well, I'll move on to a much larger tree in my front yard with more leaves on the top. We'll see if that makes any difference. Did another ohmmeter reading here. Doesn't really show much other than to prove that the tree does have some conductivity, about 10 k ohms here. Since the tree has moisture in it, it's going to conduct a little bit. You can see here it's still at that high resistance value. It still probably makes a much better insulator than a conductor. No changes here in signal strength that I can really tell. I think I'll still use my trees as antenna supports and use the wire for antennas. Try the upper nail here, same results. Well, that's the results we come up with here. Not looking very promising. If you've tried this before with better results, let me know or leave a message, or if you know what I might be doing wrong, something that might improve it. Maybe driving a ground rod in, I don't know. I think for now I'll just stick with my wire. I have plenty of wire around, so I think I better just stick with that for now. We'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this fun little experiment here. 7-3.
All right, so you can see Larry didn't really have any success with the way he tested there. There are a number of videos out there on YouTube where people are actually making contacts using the tree with different methods to connect. In fact, there's a guy out there even selling a matching device to match your coax to a tree and he claims it will match perfectly every season. Now, I'm not sure what's in that matching device. Maybe it's a 50 ohm resistor. I have no idea, but anyway, so there was a study done on this, and this has been going on for a long time. If you look back, there were articles written as far back as 1919. Here's a magazine from 1919, I think, that shows that they're using, a tree now. It just says trees can now talk. They're using a tree for the antenna. Now, the military did do some tests with this. I've got some documentation from them. Here it is in 1972. The military tested in 1972, and this was done in the jungles of Panama. And I think it was actually put into use and also tried in the jungles in Vietnam. But this test was done in the jungles in Panama with various trees, and they had some results here. So if you look at some of the documents that came out from the 1972 test, you'll see it's well written, and you'll see particular notes. Let me enlarge this a little bit so I can read this. It said that the field strength received from the toroid by itself in the air is about 15 dB lower than from the toroid coupled to the tree, which proves the role of the tree as a radiating element. So what they're doing here, and I'll show you in a minute, they make a toroidal transformer that couples to the tree, and that's one of the methods that they used. Here's another statement they found. Let me see what it says here. It says, okay, the HEMAC toroid, that's what they call the toroid, and they did patent it. It's used to couple to this tree, was fed, in this case, from a lab-constructed single-tube novice transmitter attached directly to the toroid. So that's how they did it. They took just a little CW transmitter and attached it to the toroid around the tree. Now, here's one of the drawings from their article here that how they coupled to the tree. Back in the 1919s, they were driving nails and spikes into trees, but they have found that this coupling method worked pretty good. Now, one of the things, and I was talking to Martin Jew about this, one of the guys, they drive a ground rod in the ground. They drive a ground rod in the ground, and then they go up a tree about 7 or 8 feet and put a nail, and then they run a wire up to it, and they say that they are shunt feeding the tree. Well, my personal opinion is that 7 feet of wire is actually a piece of vertical wire that's standing up there next to the tree. The tree just holding it up. Also, by connecting to a ground rod, you're probably picking up some ground wave too. So that might make things sound a little bit better. So that's one way, is to run a wire up the tree and nail it like Larry did there, or like that person was talking about it that I just talked about. Now, so they figured out that the toroidal coupling method was the best. Now, I'm talking to Martin about this. Martin is really sharp in these kind of things, and we're thinking, okay, hey, that's no more than a slinky. And you know what? You take the slinky off the tree and load it up out in the middle of the yard, you're probably going to talk to somebody on it. It's going to put some signal out. But they found that they tested it off the tree and they tested it on the tree. And you can't even tell what that picture is there. But they tested it on and off the tree. But they found that with the toroid around the tree, it outperformed a whip antenna by up to 20 dB. That was the government's finding. So the tree worked better than it had 20 dB of gain over a whip antenna. So that was an interesting find there. There are graphs there that show you, in your documentation, there are graphs that show you the difference of the tree as an antenna versus the steel whip as the antenna. And there you can see the tree is outperforming the whip right there. And then here it is again, tree to tree, tree to whip, whip to tree, and whip to whip. And so they did all various different configurations there, and they've got it all plotted out there. So that is that's really interesting. Here is that someone did. Now, what my plans are to do is to build some type toroid coupling like this, and what I'll probably do. Are you guys familiar with this black drainage pipe that you put in the ground? It's kind of got holes in it, and it's kind of perforated, maybe 4-inch in diameter. I'm gonna get me a chunk of that pipe, and I will wrap that pipe with wire, and in that way I can bend that around the tree, and I can lock it on that tree. And then what we'll do, we'll put an antenna coupler right there on the toroid there to match it, and we'll listen for signals. WWV, like Larry did, was a great indicator, I think, of how it might receive. We'll try to make some contacts on it. I guess I could cheat. I could do an FT8 and probably work Europe on it, but I'm not going to do that because, I know people can work Europe with a light bulb in the window on FT8, so we're not going to cheat like that. So we'll test it off the tree and we'll test it on the tree and try to show you some differences there on how well it works. So that's something I'm very interested in trying to do here soon. And I think it's going to be a fun little project there. So let's see. Let me get back here, and we've had Bill Brown join us. Hey, Bill, how you doing? Where's Bill? Bill's there.
He's probably in the other room.
Yeah, Bill left us.
Let me throw this out there too. Since the guy in the first video proved that there is resistance or impedance in that path, you ought to take your antenna analyzer and hook it up to the tree as well.
That's right.
Because you may have to trim some branches back to prune it so it tunes right.
Oh man, no, I don't know about that, but I understand the concept you're talking about there. But I don't want to trim the trees to try to get a certain frequency. It might look like a toothpick when I get through. So, but we definitely will use an antenna tuner, auto tuner to get the impedance to match, so we can transfer power there. Hey, Bill Brown has joined us. Hey, Bill, how you doing, Bill?
Sorry, I was outside hooking my tree up, and I was hoping for some lightning from these storms to get me a couple kilowatts of power.
Well, it can be done. Maybe you can kind of continue the segment and try to capture lightning from a tree. I understand, and I have seen there's a lot of power in that lightning bolt when it hits a tree. If you can just somehow put that into a jar and keep it, I think that would be cool, man. All right.
Well,
So
they made a movie about that. Michael J. Fox was in it, I think.
Yes.
With the DeLorean.
Oh, okay.
I might make a good contact, but it'll be somewhere in the future or in the past.
All right. Well, okay, let's see. Let me look at the chat room real quick. Okay, well, you got Glenn. You can help me watch the chat room too. All right,
Sure.
so that was kind of kind of a prelude to what we want to do with our tree antenna segment. So that'll be coming up here in a few months. But as you can see, to put that thing around a tree and hold it and you get video and all that, I kind of need to get some help here. So Walter is retired now. The guy should have plenty of time. He lives right down the street. So I'm going to get Walter in here and help me set these things up and video it. All right, so another thing we've done this week, I've been working on trying to get W5KB-27 ready. And we're going kind of slow. The plan keeps changing, but that's okay. So right now, we're working with material. Now, I think Bill is going to receive some of this material this week. I've got some material. Our friends out at the lab out west have been testing it and pressurizing it, and we found that it won't hold the super pressure. So that means that it's going to stretch and pop up there. So we've got to solve that problem. And I think that problem is solved. And this is in the hangar. This is in their hangar out there. They just threw together, just for measurements, a 28 foot using the same material that we, are going to fly. Now, what they found was, if you look at that closely, every 10 inches, they have taken some glass tape and they have put a band around it every 10 inches. And once they did that, it held a tremendous amount of pressure, well beyond the pressure that we need to hold to fly at those very high altitudes. So the tape there, the glass tape, has strengthened that material where it will meet the altitude pressure needs. Now, I think it took about an hour to put that tape on. And
what kind of tape is that, Tom?
that is some glass. It's some type of glass filament. Each of those tapes weighs about 2 grams. So there's about 25 bands there. So there's 50 grams right there. Now, also when you pressurize it, the bands hold really well, but you can also see in between the bands, it's starting to kind of expand out a little bit, like ribs, But it will hold the super pressure. Now, what I've told them and what I'm working on is hey, that's fine. It's a lot of extra work, and people don't want to go through all that trouble to do that. Plus, there's weak points, I think, between the bands. And what we want to do is try some netting. And I have ordered, and I should have this week, 2 different nets. One net with 1-inch squares and one net with 2.5-inch squares. Now, our friends think even if we had a net that had a square hole of 1 foot each, that would be fine to put on there. In other words, that would probably give that balloon a lot more support, even if it had a 1 foot square hole. But I've ordered some material. This week I'll be testing it, and I've ordered the 1-inch square and also the 2 1/4-inch square holes. And it should be real easy to put around the balloon. And I think it should really reinforce the balloon in all areas, all the areas in between those bands, all the way around, even the ends. As we pull that webbing toward the end there, it's going to also support the end. So they've also ordered now some of the webbing, and we'll be also testing that. And this is all done, and I've learned this year to use a manometer. And I ordered a manometer, but they're only accurate plus or minus 2.5 psi. And we're dealing with PSIs here of 0.1 psi, 0.2 psi. So what I learned, and I've started using, is the water manometer. And here it is right here. It's just a piece of hose, and we put some red coloring in it, and we actually measure the lift of water. And by measuring the lift of water, it's very accurate to measure the pressure, the internal or the differential pressure of the balloon. So, and if you guys remember, when we built Fat Boy, our problem with Fat Boy was it kept stretching. I could never get enough pressure, meaning that it was going to keep expanding and stretching and expanding until it just got so thin it would pop. And so I could never get the pressure up to the point where we needed to get it. So the new material, plus I think the netting is going to be something that's really going to maybe work out really well for us. So that balloon there that's not for flying. I think this is for testing. It's 28 feet long, and this material is 10 feet in circumference, and you just get what you need. You want a 28-foot piece, you cut it. You want a 50-foot piece, you cut it 50 foot long. Now, and Bill taught me this, and I kept asking these questions. Okay, I've got a 10-foot balloon, and it flies at, say, 38,000 feet. What happens if I make it 20 foot long? Well, it flies at 38,000 feet. What if I make it 50 feet long? Well, it flies at 38,000 feet. It's because each time you lengthen it, you're adding the weight to it, and it just won't do it. So that's one of the issues that we're trying to overcome, and that's caused by the diameter of the balloon. The diameter of that balloon there is about 3.1 feet in diameter. My plans are it's a 10-foot circumference. My plans are, after this next flight, to put some of this material together and have a 20-foot circumference, kind of like Big Boy, but we will reinforce it where it won't stretch. And
Hey, Tom,
yeah,
I sent you a link on the ULDB project that NASA did, where they use the load tapes. It's called a pumpkin. So
Yeah.
the balloon material stretches out into between the tapes,
Right.
and you can see it. If you take a look, there's a picture of it on that link I just put in your chat, in the Zoom chat.
okay.
You wanna click on
Let's see. I might be able to pull it up.
It's called
Yeah, I should-
Ultra Long
be.
Duration Balloon, and it's super pressure for. Of course, it's a very large balloon
Yeah.
that they do.
Let me see if I can do this. I've never done this before. I'm going to bring up this link. I may not be able to pull you back in. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so I've got it there. There it is. And there it is right there. So that's interesting. And some other people were also discussing with me the pumpkin type deal there. But that is interesting, and they use the tape to do that.
And the like I say, the material bulges out in between the tapes,
Yep.
like you said was happening with that cylinder balloon you were just showing.
Yeah.
So
Okay, now,
they've
Bill.
been doing this for some time.
Bill, now we have a problem. How do I get back to you? How do I?
There is another problem here, Tom, and that is the amount of hydrogen it's going to take to fill that thing.
Well, don't let it
you could-
fool you, because when it leaves here, it's pretty empty.
Yeah, you could have a Hindenburg event.
Yeah. All right.
Don't coat it with nitrocellulose.
All right,
Yes.
hey guys, we have a serious problem. Anybody in the chat room know how to go from the link and zoom back to the video? Let's see, maybe if I click right here, maybe this will do it. I think I figured it out. I think I did.
Not sure if that's what
Well, I'm getting there. I'm about to get there. Let's see what happens if I click that. Close. There we go. Okay. All right, I got it. Okay, so we kind of got into a balloon segment here and tell people what we were thinking about doing. And I see people talking about this cylinder type balloon, and it's real difficult to make a sphere, a ball. It's real easy to make a cylinder type. The ball configuration would actually it will go higher, but that's just out of our reach right now.
It would be the most efficient for
Yeah.
weight and payload.
Right.
Actually, a teardrop shape is an excellent design too.
Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah, and Bill, when I was talking about this balloon, that a 20 foot won't go any higher than a 10, a 30 foot won't go any higher. The thing is, though, it will
Because
lift.
of the
It
weight
will
of the
lift a
balloon.
heavier load. It will lift a lot heavier load. And we have found, I used to here try to keep the payloads as light as possible. 10 grams, 11, 12 grams. On these balloons, Bill, I'm not concerned about it. If these suckers come in at 30 grams, it don't make me any difference, man. And
We might try a scale model, if possible, with the band tapes and the net, and just do a scale model of it and see how it performs. A step above, about the size of what those SBS 13 balloons are, or about the size of a large, just a little larger than the party balloons, the 36-inch party balloons.
Well, I would have
That'd be a good test for that
I would have to understand what that means and somehow accurately compare the scale. And I don't know if I could do that.
Well, just scale it down to a smaller balloon for your first test flights, just to see if that.
Oh, you mean a test flight? I thought you meant like for measuring pressure and so forth.
No, I mean to actually send it aloft with a small payload. Obviously, your payloads are pretty lightweight, so if it's roughly the size of one of those SBS 13 balloons, and you put a net over it, that it doesn't have to be the mother of all balloons like you had before.
Oh yeah. So we're talking balloons here, and we're talking. We're slowing things down. I'm ready to launch this week, but we're not going to be able to. Bill, you still have an assignment. You still got to work on the voltage.
I'm going to try and do that tomorrow and the next day. I'll be back in my lab.
And I have added the experimental battery on here. That battery
how does that work?
Well, I've got a test here. I'm going to show a video.
I think you showed it last week. Did you show a little test of that last week?
No, I didn't. But I've got it here, and we're going to show it, and I'll go through it pretty fast. A typical LiPo battery at about a -20, it just stops working. That's what we found. It just stops. This battery was putting power out, a substantial amount of power out, to -58.
What kind of current levels were you getting?
I was pulling a 40 mils, the current that the tracker would do. So at about 60 it starts flaking out. But that was interesting. Now, so the output of the battery came in around 58, 60, -58 or 60. That's good. Now, charge, that's a different story. Your typical LiPo won't charge below about 0 Celsius. It just won't do it. And that's what we found out, I think, when we did our test on the regular LiPos before. This one actually started taking a charge about a -25. So that was an improvement. By the time
during the daytime, particularly if you paint the battery black or coat it with a black tape or something, it should work just fine.
So I'm thinking that this has got real possibilities, and I'm thinking, okay,
you're obviously not going to be charging it during the night.
Right. So I'm thinking, okay, so we're going to run the battery on this one, and here's again, I'm going with the 45-degree 45 to try to get sunrise to sunset. I don't know, but I've also put the battery on the very top.
Oh, there you go.
Right there, and I painted it black, and I've tried it out in the sun here, Bill, and with my 7 cells, I don't get enough voltage to charge a battery more than about 3.7. I need more voltage, so I just extended this end right here. I'm going to add another solar cell on each side where I can get another 0.6 of a volt, and maybe I can bring that voltage up a little bit more, 3.8, maybe 3.9. So you're right that I think during the daytime the sun is going to heat that up enough that it will charge, and since it works almost to -60 in the dark, it will discharge during the night, and back the next day it should warm up and charge again. So I'm adding another cell to get a little bit more voltage there. So
the flight test we did when we were floating around 28,000 feet on the small party balloons with the regular LiPo batteries that don't like it below about 20 or 30 below, we would get about 5 to 6 hours after sunset with those. But flying at the higher altitudes at 45,000 feet or so, 40 to 45,000, they would last maybe an hour and a half after sunset. They
Right.
die out very quickly at that temperature. So
Right.
that's just stock little LiPo batteries. Even the ones that sometimes are advertised as cold, working in cold temperatures, but they really don't.
So I don't know what the difference is in these. These were special made.
They make special cold
Yeah.
temperature LiPo batteries, but finding them is the tough thing because sometimes they advertise them, but they really don't work well. But it sounds like they've found a good batch, so
Yeah,
it's encouraging.
it looks like some good improvement on these that I've got here. So we're going to try it, and it would be really good for us to know what's going on at nighttime, because that's when things go bad during the flight.
Yeah, and what I found, we've had. I remember I talked about the Equinox launch on March 20th, 21st of this year. We launched 14 balloons on the SBS 13s, and 2 of them are still flying. And one of them was launched at midnight to avoid the solar heating during the ascent stage. And it's working great. And it's it basically has been around the world. It will have been around the world 3 times as soon as it crosses Atlanta, Georgia again. That was launched by Audrey and Jack McElroy, KM4ZIA and KM4BUM. And it's currently over Alaska. And I should check because it's still daylight up there. They're above the Arctic Circle, or getting very close to the Arctic Circle right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to check to see if it's still transmitting. But they're going way up towards the North Pole right now, taking a little detour. But it has been aloft for, since March 21st. And so that's, and been around the world. And it's floating right around 44,000 feet or so. And then we have another one that's over Norway that's been up for 45 days. And it's also flying in that 43 to 44,000 foot range. So it's once you get up in that range, your chances of staying up for a couple of months or more is greatly increased. We have one that's been aloft. That one's using helium, and it's not particularly super high, but it's around 42,000 feet. It's been around the world 7 times, and it's been aloft for 90 days. And it was launched by a school in New Jersey. So they have a lot of interesting, once you get up into that range, right around 13,000 meters and above, you're greatly increasing your chances. But if you were to go to, say, 15,000 meters even, and, just another 2,000 meters, I believe you would be in the range of staying up for possibly a year at that altitude. Just another couple. That's why I'm saying if you just increase the size from the 7.5 foot that the SBS 13 is and just extend that out a little bit, you could get up into that 14,000 to 15,000 meter range and greatly increase your chances of staying up for a very long time.
I think the numbers show on this one, and that's what we're doing. I think the numbers show that we should float somewhere around 54 to 58,000, somewhere in that range.
And that would be a beautiful place to fly, although it would take you a long time to go around the world. But it would be interesting because it would be a very slow ride around the world, so people would be able to hear it for long periods of time as it slowly goes across their region. So it's got some pluses and minuses as far as going around the world quickly. You're getting up into the range where it starts getting slow. But it also is getting in a range where you're going to avoid 99.999% of the storms.
Right, and that's what we want to do. We want to break that ceiling at 44,000 I want to go higher, man. We've flown 44,000 too many times. I want to go higher now. Higher.
Once you get into the actual stratosphere,
yeah,
then the storms are not going to go that high. That's where they'll top out.
Right.
Even in the tropics.
So look, I've got a little video here I put together on the little quick battery test that we did. It's not totally scientific, but you can kind of see what we did. This is what we did this week to test these new experimental LiPo batteries. I'm going to run that, and I had to actually turn a fan on. It's getting hot in here in the studio, and I'm going to get me a bottle of water while this. I'll be right back, but I want you guys to kind of see what we did with the batteries here. So let me see if I can pull it up here.
Are you going to have supercapacitors with this as well?
Yeah, it'll have supercapacitors on it plus the battery.
Now, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but shouldn't the batteries basically trickle charge the supercaps even if they're darn near depleted?
Well, I don't know if you would want a super cap on it because the battery's going to act the same, do the same thing as a super cap.
It will if the battery works. But our previous test showed the battery went open like it was not there. And if it's not there, it can't act.
Well, that's better than it shorting.
Well, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is. So here's the video, a little test we did here. I'm gonna go get some water and I'm gonna play this. Here we go. Testing on a experimental LiPo battery. My professional balloon friends sent me a couple test batteries, and these batteries were specially made to work at the low temperatures. Typically, a LiPo rechargeable battery will not charge below 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. And also, a LiPo battery typically at about minus 20 Celsius stops working. And we fly in temperatures of minus 40, minus 45. So we've never had a battery that would work up there. So we're going to do a little test here and measure the battery, the current, and the voltage at various temperatures. And we're going to try to take the battery temperature down to about a minus 40 and see how it works. So what we've got here is the experimental battery here that we're going to do some testing on. And this little lead right here comes out, and basically it's like a thermocouple, and it's hooked to a fluke meter to measure temperature. So right now room temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. We're also going to measure the battery voltage here. We're going to measure the temperature, and we'll measure the current or the milliamps that's coming out of this. So we're going to do two tests. One test will be to see how cold and if the battery will still perform and put out current. And then we will turn around, we'll do a second test, which is at what temperature will the battery charge. So we're going to put some dry ice in here. This is a little box we built up, very insulated. We're going to put some dry ice in there, and we're going to seal the box up, and we're going to bring that temperature gradually down to about a minus 40. So let me get some ice out, and we'll see what we can do here. So we have a chunk of dry ice here, and it's cold. We're going to lay a piece of cardboard over the battery just so the ice won't be touching it directly. Let's just see what this will do. We're going to put some ice in there, and we're going to cover the top. And let's watch the temperature as it goes down. So, okay, we've got it working. So basically, I've just got a resistor as our load, and this resistor is pulling about 36 milliamps. That's about what our super tracker will pull. So let's see, I'm going to try to write some numbers down if I can keep up with it. Our temperature is already down to 12 degrees. So we're at, I'm going to put voltage, 3.73, tip, let's see, I'll put current, and I'll put temp, and we'll go from there. So we're at 8.9 temp, and we were at 36 milliamps. I'll get this straight in a minute. So we're gradually going down. We're down to, see if I can get a little weight on top of this. Maybe I help hold that right there. So we're gradually going down. We're at, looks like the temp is 5.2 degrees Celsius. Now we're at 4.9. Charge rate is still good at 36 milliamps. So that's going to be our reference. That 36 milliamps is going to be our reference. That's about what the tracker pulls. And the LiPo battery typically puts out about 3.7 volts. So we're still coming down in temperature. So I'm going to make a note here, 3.71 at 1 degree Celsius, and we're still running 36 milliamps. I was having a little trouble getting dry ice today. I think they're using it mostly for the COVID, so I didn't have a very good supply of the dry ice today.
So I'm going to fast forward this a little bit.
0 degrees Celsius, that is freezing. That's 32 degrees. 9 milliamps and 9.5 minus 9.
I'll fast forward some.
All right,
so we're at a minus 30
down on our voltage. I mean, here's a minus 30. So at a minus 30, we still have good current, 31 milliamps at 3.2. I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit more. I'm afraid our
That's actually kind of impressive. Do you get your dry ice at Kroger?
Yeah. Okay, oh man, we're going down fast. Minus 45. Minus 45, and we were at still 31 milliamps. Minus 45. 3.1. We're at a minus 54 Celsius. And we're at about 30 milliamps.
That's pretty impressive.
3.16 volts. I really didn't want to go this fast, but I think I'm going to lose my dries.
Yeah, it looks like your voltage is
So
dropping.
we're at minus...
Yeah, the battery wasn't fully charged when I did this.
Almost minus 60. I'm going to put minus... We'll be there in a minute. We're at minus 62. We'll do that in just a second. Okay, so we're in charge mode right now. I reconfigured, and we've got a lab power supply on here. We're reading about 3.5 volts. We're at minus 62 degrees Celsius, and we're only getting in about 1 milliamp. So this is a charge test. Milliamp. We're at a minus 50, and there's a 1 milliamp. That's not good. Temperature is not coming up very fast. Of course, if we bring it up real fast, it'll be hard to capture the true number. So this would be a good test to let it come up slowly. But at a minus 45, we just are not charging. The battery is only taking 2 milliamps. A little bit, raise the temperature a little bit. Zero Fahrenheit.
That's actually impressive, though.
The 32 Fahrenheit, which is 0 Celsius. So it's starting to charge. It looks like it's wanting to charge a little bit here, actually. So this has some possibilities. It has some possibilities. We're getting up into charge rate now. Look, we're getting up into at minus 22.6. We're actually charging at about 20 milliamps. So at a minus 20, we're making some progress here. Typically, the LiPos will not work until 0. So this at least will charge at minus 20. And of course, we'll be in the sunlight up there. Maybe we can get some heat from the sunlight, and maybe our temperatures won't be too far from minus 20. This battery may in fact work. It may have some usefulness up there.
All right, that's enough of that one. So you can see kind of the temperatures where that battery was working and didn't want to work. But you know, there is, with the sunlight up here, and our friend Edward from Romania is flying one right now, and he has temperature on his temperature sensor. He's reading upwards to 12 degrees or minus 8 degrees. I mean, at times, and that's the temperature of the circuit board, the printed circuit board there, because it's getting some heating from the sun. So, I think with a black battery on there, I think this thing has a good chance to go. And because of that, Bill, I decided to put another cell on there to try to get a little bit more charge voltage during the day. I was a little weak on charge, which meant that it might only add, an hour or so a day, but I'm going to try to get a lot more charge into it, and we'll see what it does. What do you think about it, Bill?
Well, it might actually get too hot. My flights recently are showing at that altitude about ranging anywhere from 0 to minus 25 during the day. It varies depending on which side of the circuit board's pointing towards the sun. So sometimes it's minus 10. I think on average it's right around minus 10 is where the board tends to be when it's about minus 50 outside with the sun beating on it. So I think you'd be in the range where that battery's going to charge up just fine.
So it's a 300 milliamp hour battery.
It's a what now?
It's what?
300 milliamp hour?
Yeah, it's a 300 milliamp. So 40 into that, it should. I mean,
It'll take a few hours
level,
to charge, but that'd be fine.
At ground level, it ought to run about 7.5 hours. But now, depending on temperature, I have no idea. It's going to be somewhat, less efficient, I'm sure.
Well, you probably get a few 5 or 6 hours after sunset, I would think. Maybe even if you get 3 or 4 hours after sunset, that would be useful.
Yeah, and with this new balloon material, what happens is the unknown at nighttime. We don't know if we've got enough free lift to keep it up or what. I mean, if we can watch it during the night, we might learn something.
Absolutely. During that crucial ascent stage before it hits float altitude, I would like to see a comparison of a night flight during what the ascent rate is, because what tends to happen during the daytime is that you get some solar heating and your ascent rate starts to increase as you get higher, and sometimes it goes a little too fast, and particularly during the peak of the day. So I'd like to get some temperature readings during the night of that crucial ascent stage.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, hey, guys, stand by just a second. We'll be right back in just a minute. The great outdoors are calling. Get outside and under the stars with one of ICOM's ultimate SDR transceivers. The IC705 is a perfect transceiver for hams who enjoy both the great indoors and the outdoors. It's a perfect QRP companion. The base station has features and functionality at the tip of your fingers in a portable package, and it covers HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. And guess what? It weighs in at just under 2 pounds. It has a 4.3-inch touchscreen, and it's got a live band scope and waterfall. It'll run 5 watts with a BP272 or 10 watts on 13.8 volts DC. It runs all modes, including D-Star. The speaker microphone comes standard. The perfect accessory for the 705 is the LC192 backpack. It has a special compartment for your IC705 and room for all your accessories. Create your own band opening with the IC9700. This transceiver radio brings direct sampling to the UHF VHF weak signal world. This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are just sure to keep you busy. It has a 4.3-inch color touchscreen and spectrum scope and waterfall. It has smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels, and it's full duplex operation in satellite mode. Heard it, worked it, and logged it with ICOM 7300. It's a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. This innovative HF transistor digitizes the RF before various receiver stages to reduce the generated inherent noise in different IF stages. The IC7300 is the radio that changed the way of entry-level HF. Visit www.icomamerica/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast, proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
All right, and we are back. And got some fun things going on. I'm excited. I'm excited about getting a net in here. You know, it's just a lot of fun, Bill, taking the manometer, you know, the water manometer, and watching and the pressure and playing with that. I mean, that's kind of fun. So now, I don't think the next balloon we put together out in the garage, it's not going to get as big. We never reached pressure with it. It kept growing and growing. So I think on this one, once we get the net on it, we're going to reach pressure, and it's going to be a lot smaller.
Now, on this, are we still within the FAA limits on this? Is that strictly a weight limit, not necessarily a size limit?
We have to ask the expert. That's Glenn. I mean, that's Bill.
No, I'm not the expert.
No, Bill's the expert.
Yeah,
Bill left us. Oh well.
Yeah, he had to go get himself something to drink, probably. There he is.
Oh, okay. I think we're okay.
Yeah, you should be fine. I mean, the big weather balloons, they can get 30 feet in diameter when they're at altitude.
Yeah.
But some countries do have a limit, like Great Britain, for example.
Yeah.
That's why the Scientific Balloon Solutions sell an SBS 12, which is the size limit for balloons in that country.
We will try to go around that country.
So
you need to make it past the stands.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I was going to run the 100 milliwatt PA again on this one, but I didn't want to do.
I'd like to see 100 watts. That would.
Yeah.
That would be impressive.
I tell you, I think we.
Batteries.
I think we could do 100 watts. I really think we could with this. I think it would carry the payload. But I wanted to run it, but I didn't want to mix too many things in here that could go wrong. The worst thing we could do is have the PA go out, and then this balloon fly another year, and we not know it. So, I'm trying to keep it simple and reduce risk where we can. And the battery will help us, I think, gain a lot of information.
Yeah. Tom, how much does the average weather balloon weigh, and how much do you anticipate this new one weighing?
The average weather balloon weighs, well, it depends on the size of it, but the ones that they use for the Weather Bureau, they weigh between 600 to 1,500 grams, and there's 453 grams in a pound, so they're pretty heavy.
Yeah. Now, how much does Tom's balloons typically weigh versus what we're
Well, this
anticipating
one, this one is going to weigh in probably at about 400 and something grams. It may be a little heavier too. The netting I'm looking at, is hard to know what the weight of the netting is. I was able to get the shipment weight, and I know the shipment weight is going to be more than just the net weight. And it's looking like the net weight is going to come out equal to maybe what their tape was. So I felt okay about it. We got a lot of flexibility as far as leeway here. I mean, this balloon can carry some weight. I mean, I think the Fat Boy we launched here this last month, I think we were up somewhere around 1,300 grams on it.
Yeah,
I mean, it was,
and the
it was
SBS
big.
13s, they've been traditionally, what, 18 to 20 something grams?
No, they're 109.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. It was something grams of lift that you were looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's Hey, I'm gonna try to open the phone lines up. We've got 45 more minutes, and guys, we've got 45 more minutes here, and that's because we are on shortwave, and we have a 2-hour show on international shortwave on WBCQ. And if you're out there listening on WBCQ on 7490 kilohertz, send us an email to tom@w5kub.com and tell us where in the world you are. We'd like to hear from you. Send us a signal report. Tell us where you are. And if you want to join us live on Tuesday nights, just go to youtube.com/w5kub, and you can join the show live there. We're going to open the phone lines up. And we'll take some calls, and we don't have
in
to.
The chat room.
We can
tonight
talk
was
about
supposed-
anything. What was
Yeah.
that?
And everybody in the chat room, tonight was supposed to be a replay, so we're kind of making this up as we go, and we apologize we don't have anything other than balloon stuff planned. That was not the intent, but we figured this would be better than letting you have a replay.
Well, I had a replay program to run, and it was back in December. But Katie's on there talking about all the Christmas presents she's getting and making, so that might not have been a good rerun tonight. So again, we thought we would try to get in here and have a show, and sometimes just the open mic night turns out to be a pretty good show.
Well, if you ever need a month off, you can take that 3-hour live Arduino one I did way back when and chop it up into 2-hour segments.
Yeah, we can do that. All right, I'm trying to kick the phone system here to get it going. I don't know why it's not going. We can take 1,000 simultaneous phone calls, guys. I've never had more than about 3 or 4 at a time, but we can take 1,000. All right.
I just can't even conceive a system that can take 1,000 calls.
Let me try again. I may have opened it 5 times. I don't know. I guess that means we might can take 5,000 calls. It's interesting. Our phone system is not opening. Let me see what's going on.
We have a system that's capable of taking 1,000 calls, but we're not going to let any of you talk to us, so we're just going to pretend.
When it works.
It's kind of like we'll take the 5th caller.
Yeah. I don't even know what it's called. It's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. We'll just call your cell phone.
Yeah, I don't have any way to put it into. Let's see if I can open it this way. Well, we may not have. Let's see, open. Let's see if I can run as administrator. Maybe that'll work.
Denny, let me tell you something. I get at least 3 of those spam calls a day now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I have car insurance, and my cars are so old I really don't need it.
I get those calls all
You
the
are
time.
the only participant in the conference.
All right. I'm in. Let me put the phone number up.
Yep, there it works. We have the music.
Yeah.
We have got to find a way to change that.
Phone lines. There's the phone lines right there. Hey guys, if you want to call us at 712-775-7270. And you'll have to put in the code 407051 #. Or it's not a hashtag. You know, when I grew up, it was a #. What is it, Glenn?
I grew up with it being a #. This hashtag stuff is all new to me.
Yeah.
That
All right.
music sounds like good elevator music.
Well, it's not even good elevator music, man.
Let me tell you something. I was at the dentist a few months ago,
I was going to say a doctor's office.
and their music their office elevator music is the stuff that we listen to as rock.
Yeah.
You know,
Classics.
I mean, you have not lived until you've heard Pat Benatar converted into
Feedback.
dentist office music, or the Go-Go's. They actually did the Go-Go's in elevator music.
All right. I think we have a caller. Who's on the line?
Good evening, Tom. KG0BK, Ruston, Iowa.
Hey, Russ. How you doing, man?
Well, really good. And watching you earlier with the tree thing, in fact, watched some shows earlier about the trees, and thought I've got a little story that I have to tell you about the trees. Take about 2 minutes, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. Well, when I moved to a different place, I had a nice antenna system set up. Moved to a different place, like you always do. And there was 2 trees that were just about perfect for a 40-meter dipole. And so we went up, and at that time didn't have any insulators or anything except for the center of the dipole. And so just kind of wrapped them around the limbs and then brought them back on themselves and kind of soldered them in place. And got pretty close enough to work with the OHW 101 we were using at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And got in with a bunch of guys, 3 or 4 of us. There was a guy in Kansas, a guy in Colorado, one in Arizona, and there was somebody else, and then me. Anyway, we get on there early in the morning on 40 meters and talk for about an hour or so, just about this, that, and whatever. And normally 2 guys, and depending on the propagation, 2 guys could hear me, and I could hear about 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And once in a while, a third one would come in. Well, as it went on, my SWO started changing. I went out and looked up at the antenna, which was about 30 foot in the air, and I couldn't really see anything changed there. So I used a homebrew tuner and tuned it back in, and everything was fine. But the guy said my S-meter, their S-meter readings on me were coming up. I was putting out a better signal. And I go, you know what? I'm seeing you as a little bit better signal, too. Must be the propagation. And it kept getting better and better and better. And then it got real bad, and I had to change to a 4-to-1 balance to make it work again. I thought, what is going on? I still don't see anything. Well, we finally spotted it. As the branches would move on the one tree, it was cutting into the bark on the tree and got down into the sap of the tree and was kind of cutting itself through the tree, just on one side. The other side was still fine. And as that was happening, it was changing the length of the antenna or making the tree maybe into an antenna. And the signal just kept getting better and better and better. And then it was terrible in winter. And then by next spring, we decided to move, so I don't know how it was going to work after that. But just kind of wondered if that tree didn't do something. I think it went from a half-wave dipole to a half-wave off-center fed dipole by using the two trees and cutting into one, so to speak.
Well, I think that proves that the trees work better when they have sap and are growing instead of in the winter when they're dormant. So, you know, we've been wanting to do this project, but it's been winter time, but the trees are starting to come out. I just don't want to kill one of my trees, you know.
Yeah, well, we just had wire wrapped around it. You'd normally have a cord wrapped around it and then an insulator. Well, we didn't have all that, so we just wrapped the wire around it and tied it together. And thought it was a heavy limb, should work, but it was enough to cut into the tree. And the more it cut into the tree, the SWR changed, but the better the signal got, both receive and send. So, yeah, go figure. Just had to share that story.
All right, that's cool. Cool, Russ. Hey, we got another caller on here from Dayton, Ohio. How you doing, Dayton?
All righty, this is your good friend Cliff, KA8GOV. How you guys doing tonight?
KA8GOV, that's Chris, right?
Cliff, that's in Clifford.
Oh, Clifford, yeah. Hey, Cliff, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I just want to let you know that when you guys are still in the KA6LMS station, I watched you on YouTube there and everything, and I talked to the group from Georgia on G-Star, and I got my card the other day, and that was pretty neat to get that and everything. It's on my QSL wall and everything like that. So that's pretty neat to get a card like that, you know, and I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
And everything. I got a question for you. Maybe you guys might, since you're talking about balloons and stuff, I'm kind of curious. You guys watch the Indianapolis 500. I'm pretty sure you guys seen the Indy 500. You know, the balloons that they shoot off there during the opening ceremonies, how far does those balloons go?
Yeah, I don't know. Would you have any idea, Bill?
Yeah, you mean just the regular
party
balloons that they let go? They'll go up about 10,000 feet and then they pop and come down. I sent up one just for the kid, though, that were 28 party balloons. And I sent up a little card with, if you see this, please return it. And it went 300 miles because some of the balloons popped and others just equalized. So it stayed up. It went quite a distance. And I sent one up like that went 400 miles. I got a reply back from Canada. So it all depends, but generally they will go up about 10,000 feet because I actually put a little transmitter on a bunch of party balloons, and they went up about 10,000 feet. A couple of them popped, and it landed about 10 miles away, and we went out and got it.
Hey, Bill, I don't know if you saw this or not. There was some city up in north, I don't know, Cleveland or Pittsburgh.
Oh, Cleveland, they launched 1 million.
Yeah, that's it.
Party
The 1
balloons
million.
all at once.
The 1 million. They were going to break the record. 1 million balloons, and it turned out to be a disaster.
It was a complete disaster, and I think it caused a boating disaster because they were all over the lake, and there were two people that had capsized their boat, and the Coast Guard couldn't find them because all the balloons floating on the lake looked like people. So they couldn't find the people that were treading water wanting to be rescued. So. And it created an aviation hazard, too, with all that.
Somehow the weather pattern or something caused every one of those million balloons to all come down to the ground. They were all over the streets, all over the river.
Everywhere.
You couldn't even walk without stepping on a balloon. They had to clean all that up. Man.
I'll have to find the video of that because it was pretty amazing. But the lake was littered with those balloons. Completely littered.
Oh, man.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let you go, and you guys have a good day there, and we'll talk with you later.
All right, Cliff. Thanks for calling. Thanks, Cliff.
You know, let's get back to that tree thing for a minute. I'm wondering now that we're talking about things like the sap, maybe we ought to try it with a maple tree both in the fall and in the spring and compare the difference in the internal resistance of the tree as to whether the sap's rising or not.
Well, I'm sure that all that would cause different results. You know?
When I lived in New Hampshire, when I was editor of 73 magazine, I had 17 acres of maple trees, and my neighbor would tap them. And at the end of the season, I would end up with, he would give me 5 gallons of maple syrup. And it took 55 gallons of sap to create that 5 gallons of syrup. It was like 10 to 1 the ratio. But it was good. But that's exactly what these the papers I read that Tom sent me about using trees as antennas. The key was to get the nail or the copper into the tree far enough to hit the sap vein, and that's how they increase the efficiency of using a tree for an antenna. You have to, and it probably varies from the time of year when the sap's running and when it isn't. It's a really interesting concept. So,
well, we're going to try the inductive coupling with the toroidal coil around the tree.
Wouldn't that act just like a circular slinky antenna?
Well,
at that point?
that's what I mentioned to Martin. But what we'll do, we'll do a test with it off the tree, and then we'll do a test with it on the tree and try to make some comparisons.
Oh, there you go. Have a control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it was interesting findings. The government found almost a 20 dB gain in the tree over a whip antenna.
Interesting. There was an antenna that I read about years ago where it was like a giant ladder line. It was 2 wires paralleled together with cross pieces. It looked like a ladder, and they just laid it flat on the ground. And apparently it worked pretty well, but I just wondered if you ever heard of that antenna.
No, but an antenna will work laying on the ground.
We've done that with the whisper balloons. We had one out in the desert, and it was being heard 1,000 miles in both directions. And when the guy found it, the antenna wires were flat on the sand in the desert. And it was only running 20 milliwatts, so it's amazing how well it will work. You just get an antenna wire a few feet off the ground, and it's gonna radiate pretty well. Those beverage receive antennas, they typically only put those about 3 feet above the ground. My friend in New Zealand who has done a number of these, one of which was like 2,000 feet long. He gets these non-conductive stake posts that have a little foothold on them so you can drive them into the ground, and they're used for setting up an electric fence real quick. Yeah. So they're like a fiberglass, they look like a tomato stake. And so he would attach the wires to the top of those stakes and set them up. And they when he needed to steer the antenna, because the beverage probably has about a 10-degree beam width, 10 to 15 or so. And when he wanted to steer it, he would just run down the row and move the stake over for each segment until it was pointing a different direction. He just pull it up and set it back down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd like to do something on a beverage antenna, but I don't have the room here. We need a lot of room, man. Thousands of feet.
Well, actually,
Don't you?
a 500-foot long beverage would work pretty reasonably well. Doesn't have to be that long. And in fact, really, I think it's just some multiple of a wavelength. Maybe 2 wavelengths, I think, is a minimum length for a decent beverage, which isn't really that much, even on 20 meters, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
The secret there is the matching resistance and how you couple it, and also the secret was to put toroidal chokes on the feed line to help with the reducing the noise level, and
Well, and
that's the real key. Is it's the noise level, and it's not the gain, but it's the signal and the noise improvement.
Yeah, and I was thinking you could put a little preamp out there too. You know, that would help. I would think. All right, so as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're going to try to do some satellite stuff. I'm going to work tomorrow to see if we can't get our satellite station up and running, and we'll start doing a few segments on that. We've had some interest in satellite work and ISS work.
Hey Tom, did you ever operate with a quad antenna, a cubical quad?
No, I never like a quad beam or just a one element.
Yeah, cubical quad.
No.
It's got 3 elements.
No, I never
poles.
did. I've used a single element.
They are just phenomenal. I had a tri-band 2015 and 10 quad with fiberglass poles. It was big. It was it's handled wind pretty well. But as I mentioned about a year ago in your show, one day I had an ice storm and it coated that thing in ice and all the fiberglass poles were bending in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started rotating the antenna back and forth to try and break the ice off. And instead it broke the fiberglass poles. So I saved up my allowance money. I was in high school at the time, and I replaced all the poles. It took some effort, and then I was back on the air again. But they are a phenomenal antenna. And then 5 months later, a tornado came through and took the doghouse, the fence, and twisted my tower like it snapped it like a toothpick. And when I came home, there was this big ball of fiberglass pole bits and wire all crumpled up in a ball in my backyard at the end of that tower that was snapped over. So at that point, I figured Mother Nature did not want me to have a quad antenna.
Right. Well, they're making that now. The little quad Yagis now for 2 meters and even 440.
Yeah, that's what I've got up on my roof.
Is that what you got up on?
Quaggy. Quaggy is the reflector and the driven element are quads, and then you have Yagi elements for the directors, and that's called a Quaggy, and that works great. I've built Quaggies on all bands from 2 meters on up to 1200 megahertz. And 1680, I used to track ozone sondes in 1680 megahertz. And I built a little teeny Quaggy that had a 1 inch square rector and driven element, and it was about a 1.5 inch for each of the thing on a little 2 foot long pole, and it worked fantastic.
Yeah, and that's what I've got up on my roof is they sold them at Dayton. It was the Scorpion 88, and it's a PVC and wire, and the actual bending points on the wire itself are little arrow knocks mounted on fiberglass rods. And it's like 7 elements on 2 and 440.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a dual bander, and I got a pair of them up on the roof.
Oh, that's a fantastic antenna.
And I've got them, one's vertically polarized, the other is horizontally, and that's my satellite rig.
What satellites are you planning to start operating on, Tom?
Well, I haven't worked them in so long. I don't know which are the best ones up there. All the FM birds, back when I used to get on, there were a lot of FM birds. They've all gone bad pretty much.
There's a lot of new ones
there are some new
are
ones.
phenomenal, and that you can make contacts through. Both traditional linear transponders and FM.
Yeah.
And there's one that I believe is sends down teletype. So there's some really interesting student ones that are up there now.
Yeah, I was.
Go to amsat.org and you can find out the current list of satellites that are operating and their modes and the time they're going to come by.
Yeah, I had gotten into linear birds. They're a little bit more difficult to work with the Doppler shift, but now the new programs, the program I'm running now is SAT PC32.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it will. It actually controls the Doppler shift and everything on the radio. As the Doppler shift changes, the frequency changes, and I have to still do manual. I've got a manual azimuth and a manual elevation rotor, so I have 2 rotors I have to play with. I haven't automated that yet.
Now I use the Yaesu, I think it's the G5500.
Yeah.
That's an Azol rotor, and that works pretty well.
Is that both azimuth elevation?
Yes.
I've got who makes that rotor? That was
Yaesu.
Yeah, I think I've got one, but it's an earlier version. It's only the elevation.
Well, they made a 5400, and I think they made a 5500.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, lightning came in, and I had my power strip unplugged from the wall, but I left my radios all plugged into that power strip and the rotator.
Yeah.
And it hit my antenna, and it came in through the rotor wires.
Yep.
Blew out the circuit card on my rotor controller, and blew out all the radios that were hooked up to that power strip.
Well,
even though they're plugged into the wall.
I've had really about the same thing happen. Of course, you'd think over 58 years of being a ham, it's going to get you at least once, and it did. I think I had 80 or 90 feet of tower up, and it came down the tower, and it just got everything, man. It came down through the rotor and everything. But I've got a friend coming over tomorrow, and Rick, WA4NVM's coming over. He's very much into the satellite stuff here. He's worked all grids on satellite, I guess. I forget how many there are in the U.S., but there's a bunch of them. I think there's only about 4 or 5 people that have done that, and Rick is one that has accomplished that. And he usually sets something up at Field Day, for satellite. So he's going to come over tomorrow, and we're going to try to dust off my satellite system here. I've only got a single 11 element Yagi out there, or 13 element on 2 meters, and I think I got an 11 or 13 element on 440 out there, which should be able to work the birds fine. I used to always work them fine, but I do have about 100-foot run of low loss coax going out there, and I don't know if that's causing me an issue or not. I may have to put some switched preamps out there.
Yeah.
Well, if you go to amsat.org, and there's a link for satellite info, and they also have a conference every year for those wanting to get into amateur radio satellites.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually in the fall, and it's always a fantastic event. I don't know if they're going to do an in-person one. I'm going to look here and see. But they might be doing a Zoom. Let's look at the. I'll look at the events here and see if they're going to plan on doing an in-person AMSAT. One year I won the main prize, and it was like a TS 2000.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's what I'm
Very
using.
good prizes.
That's what I'm using for satellite over here, the TS2000.
That's a great radio, but sometimes they made a batch with faulty filters, and if you ever get a TS2000 that has what it sounds like,
There's a birdie on the SO50.
SO50, yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
yeah, but if you get one and it sounds like you've got a thunderstorm approaching,
Oh.
with lots of static and crashes, but you don't even have the antennas hooked up, you may have one that's got the audio filters that were faulty. They had a crack in them, or something
Yeah.
happened to the Toco filter that was in there, and
Right.
you had to replace that. So, and it was a batch they made, and unfortunately, the one I had has that, and you had to send it in and get it fixed because it's not an easy job to get at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I've got the ASU FT847 here, but I need to have it checked out because I'm not sure the receive is as sensitive as it should be. And I'm running the G5400 controller as well, except mine's got an Arduino, so I can just sit back and let Ham Radio Deluxe do the tracking for me.
Oh, excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, hey, let's talk a minute. Hey,
They have, by the way, they've got the actual YouTube of the last year's AMSAT Space Symposium.
Uh-huh.
They have a lot of great. They did it all virtual, of course, and so they've got a lot of great stuff on YouTube there. And I'll have to send you the link here that you might want to post in the chat room for that, because they're always very useful at the conference. I don't know what they're going to do this year, whether they're going to be doing a live event or a Zoom event. So I'll try and find that out.
well, one thing, Huntsville is going to be live this year. Oh, I can't wait to get there. Here's the floor plan.
They usually have a satellite demo.
Yeah, here's the floor plan. If you guys haven't looked at it, we're going to be located. They're opening up a whole lot more area. They've removed a wall. If you look down there where all the chairs are, and you'll see the stage. That's all new additional space they're adding this year to spread things out a little bit more.
That was just typically behind the curtains where some of the vendors could go in for a little private lunch. But
yeah, they used to close that wall off there.
That will be really incredible.
So if you look right there on the very left end, you'll see the stage and a whole bunch of chairs out in front of it, and you'll see our booth, W5KUB, is going to be right next to the stage up there. We like being that. We've always been next to the stage. I think that's going to work out good for us. What we probably will do is every hour we'll probably make a walk around and get maybe 15 or 20 minutes of video as we walk around, and we'll come back and we'll shoot that out to you. It won't be quite live. It might be 20 minutes delayed, but we hope that every hour we can show you something new.
The stage area is in that new wing that they're going to open up for the show.
Yeah, and we're right next to it there. We're going to have to do some of that ticket barrel. The ticket barrel's between us and the stage. Got to get that ticket barrel moved. Everybody seems to like to use our table and our pens and pencils to fill our tickets out, so that's not going to work real well for us there. I'm talking with Mark to see what we can do on that. I wonder if Mark's in the chat room. Mark Brown, N4 BCD. He's the general chairman of the Huntsville Ham Fest, and he's usually in the chat room. I don't know if he's there or not, but hello, Mark, if you're out there.
and we can't wait to get there. You know, one of the things that I'm hoping is, as I mentioned before, I talked to our friend astronaut Doug Wheelock, and Doug tells me he wants to go to Huntsville with us. He says he misses the ham community, and Doug said he would like to go, and he was going to put it on his calendar, his NASA calendar. Now, whether he can make it or not, we won't know. Typically, we don't know until a day or two, before the event.
Hey, Tom, can I share the screen for a minute?
You sure can. Let me turn you on here.
Oh.
Yeah, I managed to get me a room at the Embassy Suites, and I still don't know how, but I think I got like the last room they had.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. All right, Bill. You can share.
Let's see if that comes through.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got my certificate downloaded. For those of you who work the Last Man Standing special event, you can. They will have either sent out a email to you if you have an email on qrz.com, and if you don't, you can go to their website and go to a link to download the certificate if you made a contact with one of the special event stations.
Yeah.
Of course, I only worked one of them.
Yep.
KA6LMS-4/4 had just quit on me before when I got things fired up.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, if you worked all the /0 through /9 stations, and I think the K6L, the 3-letter call signs, there's a little message that says clean sweep, and Mark Brown showed me his on Facebook, and he's got the word clean sweep on the upper left-hand corner.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
That's quite a feat to have worked all those stations. He must have done that for a while.
Well,
but it's a really nice certificate, and he had his printed out on cardstock at a print shop, and is going to frame it.
Well, now that the show is off, I mean, it'll be on, in syndication, but maybe if you have some spare time, maybe we can get Tim on the show here. I don't know, man. It's going to be tough to do. Let me see. I got a picture here somewhere. Let me look. Here we go. I don't know if you guys remember the original Mandy, but that's the original Mandy there. That was replaced later by the blonde there. And here's a picture of me and Tim discussing having him on our show. Now, I don't think that's going to happen because Tim has a pretty big requirement to have people on the show, or have him on your show. Tim's price is $100,000 per event, a private jet, and that includes all expenses for his family. So I don't think Amateur Radio Roundtable is going to be able to get him on here.
Oh, we can always try a Kickstarter and see what happens.
We'll try, man. We'll try. Yeah. Let's see. Anything going on? Nobody else has called in. Let's see what's going on in the chat room. Yeah, Danny was talking about sawing off the tree to the correct length. It would do better. As I mentioned to Glenn earlier, I don't want to saw my trees up. That's why you have an antenna, auto antenna tuner out there. You just tune it for any band. Don't start trimming limbs off. Yeah. So Bill, that's going to be Huntsville's going to be our first good ham fest. We'll see you down there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And the thing I really like about Huntsville is that I don't have to drive 8 hours to get to it.
That's right.
Rent a hotel. I just hop in the car and I'm there in about 35 minutes. So
yeah,
it works out pretty well. Although I have been tempted to get a room at the Embassy Suites, but I know it's too late now because it is. They've got a hospitality suite there that's really fun. You get to meet a lot.
Well, you can still come by it, and
I still do that.
Yeah, and pop in.
staying in the hotel, you walk across the catwalk, and you're right into the Hamfest. You just can't beat that convenience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's.
It looks like we're going to have a good program schedule of speakers as well, and vendors, and so and the flea market looks like it's going to be great. So I mean, all the people that have been pent up from going to Hamfest for 2 years now, you're going to have a lot of good stuff there.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I've got mountains of stuff upstairs, but I can't sell at Huntsville because I'm presenting and I want to be buying.
Exactly.
And with me only being there Saturday, it takes me all of Saturday just to go through all the vendors and flea market for me. So I'm gonna have somebody sit at my table and sell my stuff for me.
Well, that's one of my issues. I don't go to all these forums because if I do, I miss out the Hamfest, and that's kind of what I like it better, you know.
I had one friend that he had a big van and a trailer, and at the end of the Dayton Hamvention, he would go around loading up with the piles of stuff that the boat anchors that people would leave behind.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's boat anchor is somebody else's prize, so he would then spend the rest of the year going to all the other smaller Hamfests and make thousands of dollars selling stuff that was left over in the flea market.
Man, let me tell you, Dayton on Sunday about noon or Sunday morning, 10 o'clock, the trash cans start filling up with stuff there, man, and there's some good picking stuff out of those trash cans.
He would grab the really good stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a story about the satellites. AMSAT Oscar 6 did a flight test when I was a teenager over the Midwest, and it's a linear transponder, and I was able to talk through that before they sent it into space, and it worked really well. They flew it on I believe a Cessna around Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, and I was working people in Chicago from Ohio through the transponder, and then I got to work it when it went into space, and also Oscar 7. AMSAT Oscar 7. And then AO7 stopped working because it had a NiCad battery, and as you know, those the metal crystals will short out the batteries eventually, and that's what happened. And then I believe like 30 or 40 years later, that finger
it opened. It went open.
Moved. And now it's totally solar powered, but it's still working after all those years. And
that's correct. Yeah.
The really incredible thing is that I actually heard it and worked it when I was a teenager, and now I could still work it when it's in sunlight.
Yeah.
I actually modified my HW101 and gave it a 10-meter receive preamp just for Oscar 7.
Yeah, phenomenal satellite.
All right, we're just about ready to close up for tonight. We had a great discussion on a lot of different topics tonight. So we'll be going off our shortwave program here in about 4 minutes. If you're out there on listening on shortwave, again, send us an email to tom@w5kub.com. Let us know where you are. Give us a signal report. We're on WBCQ. 7490 kilohertz, and that transmitter is up at Monticello, Maine. It's right on the border of Maine and Canada, so it's way up there. And let's see what else. If we got anybody that's came in late, please help us hit the subscribe button. We need you to hit the subscribe button. That will help us out a whole lot. Hit the like button if you like the show. I noticed tonight there are a few people that I think we bored them with some of the topics. We can't have a topic that everybody likes every week. And people are saying our show is too long. Well, you know, we could make this show easily 6 or 7 hours long, but we've decided to cut it back to 2 hours. But hey, you know, if it's too long for you, take a break. You know, watch the other half tomorrow as it's recorded, and you can watch it as a second show. You know, break it into 2 one-hour shows if you want to.
So good night to everybody out there in the chat room. We're glad you joined us. Just real quick, is there anybody new in the chat room that's new to our show? Please let us know if you're new to our chat room, new to our show. We'd love to hear from you. 73 everybody, and we will see you next week. Anything else, Bill? Glenn, you guys got anything?
No, I'm good. We'll see y'all next week.
Let me turn the phone lines off. I've got so many things here. All right. Phone lines are now off. There we go. All right. Good night to everybody out there. We'll see you. Well, we'll end this with a clip with Glenn Popel.
Oh my God, what have I done now?
Here we go.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question.
It's not mine. It's not me. But I've got to do it with one of mine.
There the answer comes.
It'd be interesting what you would pick up.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.